So says the pasuk, "Vayi bayom hashmini." It was on the eighth day. Kara Moshe Aaron v'Hanav Ziknei Yisrael. You have the place Akiva. Eitan, help Akiva. Okay, shkoyach Akiva, shkoyach. So it was on the eighth day. Kara Moshe called to Aaron and his children and to the elders of Israel. So you read this pasuk. Eitan, you're like 17 years old, 18. 18, you read this pasuk at least 15 times, if not more. So what, eighth day of what?
Eighth day of the Mishkan getting inaugurated.
Excellent. So that's also, therefore, is the eighth day of the Mishkan getting inaugurated. So explain what that means. What does that mean?
That means that, like, for the 7 days, they were just like, the Mishkan was like built, but it wasn't really being used. And the eighth day, they poured oil on everything and said, like, okay, here it is. It's the Mishkan.
So the eighth day can also be known as day one. Day one. The eighth day is also day one. And today is also the eighth day of the Omer. Today is also the eighth day of the Omer. So it's very special. So Rashi tells us, what does it mean with the eighth day? Shemini L'miluim, the eighth day of the inauguration. So basically, the first 7 days, every single day for a week, they had to go through an inauguration ceremony. They performed the rituals. The Moshe performed the rituals in the Mishkan, and then the eighth day, Aaron and his sons began to do it. So this was also the eighth day, but it was also the first day. And Rashi tells us, Hu Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So what day was this eighth day? It was the first day of the month of Nisan. Shehu Kama Mishkan Bo Bayom. The Mishkan was built on that day. The Mishkan was built on that day. That was the first day it was built. V'notal eser atarot hashnuya b'seder olam. And it took 10 crowns that are mentioned in Seder Olam. Seder Olam is an ancient midrash, and this first, that the first of Nisan of that year had 10 special things. So what was that day? What was the special about that day? Rashi doesn't tell us. He just refers to the midrash. He knows that we know it. So we have a footnote here that reminds us of the 10. It was the first day of creation because it was a Sunday. Number 2, the first day of the Karbanot brought by the Nisiim because they inaugurated the altar. Number 3, it was the first day that Aaron and his sons became Kohanim. Number 4 is the first day of the regular service in the temple, in the Mishkan. Number 5 is the first day that fire descended from heaven onto the altar. Number 6, the first day of the restriction that the offerings be eaten on the grounds of the Mishkan only. You can't take them out. Number 7, the first day of the prohibition against bringing offerings on altars located outside the grounds of the Mishkan. This is the holiness of the Mishkan. You can't just bring your offering in your backyard. Number 8, the first day of the first month of the year, because Nisan is the first month of the year. Number 9, the first day that the Shekhinah rested among Israel in the Mishkan. And number 10, the first day that Kohanim delivered the priestly blessing, the Birkat Kohanim. Why is it so important to highlight all the 10 things that was the first day of? Why is that so important? There's a very important reason. Because we're building up just the incredible awesomeness of the moment, the just incredible, tremendous spiritual heights and celebration that day, because that day became the most tragic day. That day became the most tragic. How did it become the most tragic? What happened on that day? Aaron's 2 sons died. And they weren't just 2 sons, they were the ones who were destined for the leadership role. They were Nadav and Avihu, yes. So they were the ones who were destined for the leadership role. They were destined to take over. They were the splendor of Israel, the crown of Israel, and they died tragically at the height of our success. That is why the great rabbis of Jewish history always were afraid of success. Failure they embraced because that meant that you were humble, but success was always dangerous. As it says in the verse, the pride comes before the fall. So when you have your moment of pride, that's when you have to be most careful, most careful. So this is what's being built up. So it was the eighth day, but it wasn't the eighth day of the month. And it wasn't really the eighth day of the inauguration ceremony. It was the eighth day since the 7 days of inauguration, because the inauguration ceremony was only 7 days. So this was the first day. So eight is really one. It also tells us about the power of number eight, that eight is above the nature, above nature. It's above the teva. Okay, so the eighth day is very big in the Torah about the circumcision. Okay, so Moshe called to Aaron, Vanav, and to the elders of Israel. Now, what's their role? What are the elders of Israel doing here? They have no role in what's about to happen. It was just Aaron. So why is he calling to the elders? So what do you say, Eitan? You want to read the Rashi? Who is Iknei Yisrael? Okay, so why does he read beautifully, Eitan. So why does he call to the elders of Israel? In order to teach them, hey, Levi. Reb Levi, how you doing? Come on in. So Lashmiyam, to teach them, Shalpia Dibur Aaron Nechnas, that Aaron entered into this, we're doing Parsha Shemini, that Aaron, he had to tell the elders of Israel, they would have been suspicious that Aaron got this job, as we know that this became a complaint of Korach. Korach said, you had no right for this job. And he claimed nepotism. So God anticipates this by saying, but actually, it doesn't say that God tells Moshe here, but Moshe anticipates this by calling to Aaron and his sons in front of the elders to teach them, Shalpia Dibur Aaron, that Aaron entered in on the basis of God's commandment. And Umeshamish Bekuhuna Gedula, and he was officiating in the office of the Kohen Gadol. So they shouldn't say that he entered in onto his own. Today's daf also talks about the Kohen Gadol. Today's daf talks about the city of refuge. And when a person enters into the city of refuge because he kills accidentally, how does he leave? How is he able to leave the city of refuge? When the Kohen Gadol dies, only the accidental killer only leaves the city of refuge when the Kohen HaGadol dies. Why? What's the connection between the Kohen Gadol's death and the city and him being able to leave? Yeah, so the Gemara says that the Kohen Gadol was in some ways responsible. What should he have done? He should have prayed that this person did not act improperly. In a certain sense, the Kohen Gadol is responsible for everything that goes on in his generation. So this is not a job without tremendous risks. Interestingly, I want to mention an idea I had. This is just mentioning in passing because I wasn't able to. I recorded the daf film this morning, but I had to do it at 5:30 because it's by 6:30 I was already on the road. I davened the sunrise and then I went on the road to get back here in time to be here. But there was a teaching from today's daf that I wanted to share. That the Talmud says, if a person goes into the city of refuge and he's a person of stature and he kills accidentally, Rahman al-Islam, then he comes out of the city of refuge, does he get his old job back? Does he get his old job back? Well, you say no. And anybody say yes? Anybody say yes? You say no. You say so. You're both right and you're both wrong. It's a dispute. So Rabbi Yehuda says he does not get his old job back, but Rabbi Meir says he does get his old job back. Rabbi Meir says he does get his old job back. I was thinking as I was studying it, Rabbi Meir is the one who his teacher was the great heretic of the Talmud, Elisha ben Avua. And Elisha ben Avua, Meir was walking with him, trying to get him to come back. And Elisha ben Avua says, no, you've now reached the Tchum, you have to go back. Elisha ben Avua is known as Acher, he's known as the other one. So I was thinking that Rabbi Meir's position is that when you come back, you get your old. If you once you leave the city of refuge, you get your old position of you return to your old status, your old position. I think he was telling Elisha ben Avua, come back, and we'll put you back in your old position, that you can get your old job back. That don't think that you'll come back and be like an outcast, or you have to start over. No, we're keeping your seat warm for you. We're keeping your seat warm for you so that you can get a position of status. So that was the thought I had. Anyway, so this is about the Kohen Gadol. So what does he say? What does Moshe say to Aaron? Vayomer el Aaron. He says to Aaron, Kach lecha egel ben bakar lechatas. Take for yourself. This is one of my favorite psukim. It is one of my favorite psukim. It says, take for yourself a calf, the son of a goat, for a sin offering, lechatas. Why is Aaron bringing a sin offering? And a ram as a burnt offering that's pure, and bring it before God. So this is the day that Aaron is starting his first day of service. What's his first thing he's supposed to do? He's supposed to bring a sin offering. Why? Why is he supposed to bring a sin offering? What was his sin, Akiva? I don't want to put you on the spot. So you could just say, let me know. I have the Rashi in front of me. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. What was his sin offering? Anybody remember? Why was he bringing a sin offering? Very good, Reb Levi. Rashi says, Lo dia. So he's telling him, Shekiper lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ayidei Egel Zeh, Amase Egel Sha'asa. That the first thing you're doing is you're bringing a golden calf, bringing a calf to tell you that through this calf you're being forgiven for the golden calf that you made. So that's what it was. That's what it was. What happened?
The first thing he did, that said, forgiveness for the sins. So he must have been first.
I want to say something about the Pope. I definitely did not like his politics, the way he criticized Israel. I was not happy with that, but I did read something that he said today, which I found to be beautiful. Do you want to hear it? Even though we're reading about Rashi, the holy Rashi, is it appropriate for me to say something from the Pope? He was a human being, and there is a phrase that the rabbis say, Chachma b'goyim tamin, Torah b'goyim al tamin. That from the nations of the world you can learn Chachma, you can learn wisdom, but you can't learn Torah. So if they give you a pshat in the Talmud or in the Torah, you're not supposed to take it. But if they give you wisdom, you're supposed to take it. But I'm not sure if this is wisdom or Torah, so I can say it. And if I'm sinning, then I ask for forgiveness from God. But it was very moving to me. What happened was the Pope fell asleep during prayer. He was an older man. By the time he died, he was 88. So he fell asleep during prayer. So they said to him, have you committed a sin that you fell asleep during prayer? And you know what he said? He said, what kind of father doesn't love it when their child falls asleep when he's talking to them? No, he said, what kind of father doesn't love when their child falls asleep in his arms? I found that to be moving. I'm not their father, and they're not my child, and they're not falling asleep in my arm. But the Pope, he was saying when he prays, he feels like he's in the arms of his father. So I found that to be moving. Okay, so now, okay, so you could see what they say about that. Okay, so now verse 3 says, "Well, Bnei Israel to daber more, say to the children of Israel, kechu siri zimachatas, and to the children of Israel say as follows." Yes, Jerry, please.
You're talking about the Pope. The very last thing that they had on NPR was his two words, a good Pesach, he said, when he was finishing his speech to the assembled in
So wait, no. Jerry, can you please repeat that? I'm trying to hear. What did he say?
He said a good Passover.
That was the last speech he gave, and the last two words he said were a good Pesach.
Right.
And then he died. Well, he died on Pesach. It makes sense. It makes sense. Wow, I got to look that up.
Yeah, we have to.
Hold on, that's easy enough to find. I'll just say, I just do Pope, good Passover.
Well, then this is, you said FDR.
No, NPR.
Oh, NPR. Oh.
Yeah, on NPR.
He's dominating our conversation today. Here. Well, this is the last thing he said. He said, Chag Sameach. His last words. The last words, I ask you to continue to pray for me as I assure of you in my prayer. May the Most High grant us to grow ever more in friendship. Chag Sameach.
Well, yes. NPR uses the word Pesach.
Well, here it was.
Not Chag Sameach, but a good Passover.
Who was the commentary on NPR?
This was a quote. This was a translation of his Italian
Okay.
to the people.
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to get to the bottom of this. Is from I was reading from the Vatican's press release.
Well,
But I don't know. I'll look it up. It's a good. There's a lot to talk about there. I don't know the answer. We'll have to look it up. I mean, you have a machlokas between the NPR and the Vatican, but
well, this was while he was in his mobile.
Yeah, in his mobile. That's what they're saying here. Here. What's what it says here? Here it says here. Pope blesses Easter crowds from Patmobile. Here it says. He says. This was the first time he spoke since he got pneumonia. And then okay, I'll have to look at it later. Doesn't say anything about it. Interesting. But then, it's very interesting because he obviously was in many ways an inspiring figure, but I definitely did not appreciate him criticizing Israel. Yeah, so okay, so let's just do one more verse. It says, "V'shor v'ayil shlamim," an ox and a ram bring as a shlamim. V'zboch v'nei Hashem mincha b'ulav hashamin, and then you bring a mincha offering, which is a grain offering mixed with oil. Ki hayom Hashem nira lechem. Today, God will appear to you. What does that mean? Lashrot shchinato, to rest his shchina, b'masei yadechem, in the work of your hands. Therefore, these sacrifices are obligatory on this day. All right, I just have to do one more Rashi, which is my favorite Rashi. This is the Pasuk Zayin. Ayomer Moshe al Aaron. Moshe says to Aaron, Krava Mizbeach, come close to the altar. Va'aseh, Krava Mizbeach, come close to the altar. Va'aseh eschat tascha v'so asecha. Bring your sin offering and your oil offering, v'chaper ba'atcha v'ada'am, and serve as an atonement for yourself and for the people. Va'aseh es karbana am, v'chaper ba'adam kasher tiva Hashem. So he says, come close and bring these offerings and to be an atonement for yourself and for the people. And bring a sacrifice for the people. Rashi says the following. Shaya Aaron Bush v'yarei lageshet. Aaron was afraid. He was embarrassed. He was afraid to come close. He was afraid. Amar Moshe. Moshe said to him, Lama tabosh. Why are you embarrassed? Lakach nivcharta. This is what you were chosen for. Aaron was afraid. He's afraid to do his job. And Moshe had to say to him, this is what you were chosen to do. Can you imagine this? Sometimes we're afraid to do our job.
Wasn't Moshe told the same thing? Sure.
Moshe was not embarrassed.
He just didn't think he was good enough?
Yeah, but Aaron. What?
He says, Mi Anochi, right? Moshe.
Who am I? He didn't think he was worthy, but that's different than saying he was embarrassed and afraid to approach. Moshe says, I'm not worthy. But Aaron was afraid. Why was he afraid? Because he had committed a sin. Moshe wasn't embarrassed because he committed a sin. Aaron was saying, I'm not worthy. This is also from yesterday's Daf Yomi. Talmud discusses a person who's in the city of refuge and they want to give him an honor. They want to honor him at the shul dinner. And he's a murderer in the city of refuge, but he's a big Torah scholar. He's getting a lot of lectures. And they say, oh, you're tremendous. We want to give you an honorary doctorate at Tulane, whatever. We want to give you this big honor at Turo, whatever. I'm not saying any university. So is he allowed to accept it? Is he allowed to accept it? What do you think?
Yeah.
Talmud says he has to say, it says, V'zeh dvar. It says, this is the matter. Dvar means word. He has to say, I'm not worthy. I'm a murderer. Rotzeach I'm a murderer. Then if they say, Afal Pikain, nevertheless, okay, if they say, at that point, if they say nevertheless, then he could still do it. But he has to say his sin.
Because Aaron, he was responsible for the gold.
Yeah, he was dealing with that.
He couldn't fight it. He did it. So,
all right. We'll stop here at the Daven Mincha. Shkoyach. We might be.